Professor Matthew Kiernan was a young doctor and researcher in the 1990s when his mum was diagnosed with motor neuron disease.
So when my mother, couldn't walk, I wasn't actually sure what it was. And then when it's diagnosed as motor neuron disease, there's no treatment. You think, well, that's hopeless.
That experience motivated him to help in the clinical trials for what remains the only approved medication for the condition in Australia, known as Riluzole.
To have been part of that journey and to improve an outcome for a condition means the world. Is that good enough? No, it's not good enough because people still die from the conditions. There's still a lot more work to be done.
A lot of that work is being done here at Neuroscience Research Australia, known as NeuRA. As Chief Executive of NeuRA, Professor Kiernan oversees more than 400 researchers in studying the brain and nervous system.
Just turn the hands over and just close your eyes and keep them there.
But to this day, he still finds time to see patients.
Just doing pure, very fundamental research, isolated, without thinking, where is this going, is not good research.
His own research helped change the way neurological disorders are diagnosed. While working in London at Queen Square, Professor Kiernan devised a non-invasive way to study the behaviour of ion channels in patients, a major advance given those channels control the flow of electrical signals in nerves. Soon after returning to Australia, he was able to prove the value of the technique when asked to consult on a group of patients who'd eaten a soup full of the poisonous pufferfish.
And then over the next hour or two, they started to notice tingling around their lips, tingling in their hands and feet, gradual paralysis. By the time they came to Prince of Wales, one of them needed to go to ICU and was ventilated. Then we were able to, with our techniques, do mathematical modelling, and we were able to show that, in fact, all of the abnormalities we had recorded was due to blockade of their sodium channel. So it was a proof of concept.
Across his career, Professor Kiernan has remained at the forefront of innovation. That includes better understanding the genetic underpinnings of brain disorders, and particularly a specific gene mutation called C9orf72, traced to a person in Finland from about 1,000 years ago.
And a colleague here, Emma Devaney, has interviewed now 1,400 family members of patients with this genetic mutation and found very high incidence of schizophrenia, mania, bipolar disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. So these are conditions of the brain and mind that are all linked.
Knowing that opens up the possibility for new genetic therapies.
But then also understanding when you get a gene, it doesn't mean you're going to develop the condition. And it turns out that 30 to 40% of people with that gene will manifest the disease, so 60% don't. So there's presumably things in our environment, epigenetic approaches, and that really is taking this forward.
Professor Kiernan says becoming a Fellow of the Australian Academy of Science is recognition of the value of working not just in pure science, but also in its eventual application.
Being engaged with the community, seeing progress, coming up with better therapies, that's the joy of an applied scientist.